Hello, my name's Jon Sermon. I'm a church leader based in the UK with a strong link with Africa and Uganda in particular through a charity called Romans 111 Trust. Way back at the beginning of the pandemic and the lockdown situation here in the UK last year, I began recording these short videos in the hope of encouraging people. And today, well, I've spent almost a week reflecting on significant events for our family, including last Saturday when we gathered at the church that had been my dad's church for a memorial service to celebrate his life. And that was incredibly uplifting. The reality was my dad was 3 months short of his 90th birthday. He had an element of dementia, so he was still living in his own home, but he was often confused. And part of his daily routine, despite his mobility beginning to suffer, needing always to use a walking stick, he would always go for a walk at least once in a day, often twice, around the village where he lived, including in the park where children play and many people walk their dogs. And Dad got to know nearly all the local dog owners, and his practice as an elderly gentleman that had developed naturally was he would obviously stroke the dogs, but most of the dog owners would greet him with a hug. The fact is, he died the very day lockdown started in March 2020. And if he was going to die at that stage at all, we're almost glad that it was then, not later, in that with his dementia, the idea of social distancing and having to so dramatically change his practice would have been really hard for him. It was a difficult time for all the family. We couldn't hold a funeral, although we did manage a very brief graveside ceremony, and I remember speaking at it. And one of my brothers was there. My other brother was unable to travel back from Spain because of restrictions, and we managed to set up Zoom on a mobile phone so at least he could be sort of involved. So against that backdrop, and I remember speaking at the graveside just briefly and how the tears flowed when I made the comment, this was our dad. To really celebrate his life at the service last Saturday has been a major thing for us. Now, everyone's circumstances are different, as we know, and we have all suffered in many ways and different ways. But I'm hoping that the very fact that somehow there are ways of bringing good out of the bad situations might give you some encouragement. For our family, last March was extremely difficult, and it's two years and a bit on since our mum died, and so of course we were burying Dad in the grave next to her. And this year, last Saturday, has been a balancing uplift, and there are many ways in which something good helps to balance the bad that has gone before. Today I'm suffering with a sore arm, this one. It's because I had the booster jab yesterday. And obviously we are so grateful for the vaccines and the effect they can have. One of my friends from our sixth form days is actually a scientist who worked on the team that developed the AstraZeneca jab. I was hesitant a little about the booster for the simple reason that here I was being offered my third dose when so many in Uganda and many other poorer countries can't get a first. And if declining to take it could have made a difference to that, I'd have done so, but of course it couldn't. However, it was good to hear of international pressure in the news this morning for countries like ours to urgently get jabs out to other countries where we have some about to run out of date. This sort of international cooperation is part of what we need. And right now, of course, we're facing the COP26 climate conference an occasion where the emphasis of that need is all the greater. Our world feels fragile, but remember it's still in God's hands, and we must rely on God. Please be encouraged. He will not let us down.